Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the second game of this evening. We got CLG Faith versus TDA, and this time around, we got a new guest with us. We got Mad Life himself joining us on the desk. Hello, Mad Life. How's it going? Welcome. Such an honor to have you here.
Thank you. I'm actually Lol Daption's doppelganger, and I'm coming into the stream for you guys.
You mean Lol Daption is your doppelganger?
Are you guys like twins?
Mad
Yeah,
Life.
we're basically twins. I ended up coming on the stream for him, you know? So, yeah.
Okay, well, lovely to have you here. We're going to be heading right into the action. Thank you so much for sparing a couple of minutes of your very precious time, I assume. Looking at the matches, the results on the Pats to LCS stream specifically, it went 2-0 to Talco Gaming over Supernova, and currently AWE, they are 1-0 up against third party. So it's looking a little spicy over there. If you guys want to find out how that game is going to be proceeding, don't forget to open a second tab and watch the game over there, because you guys gotta watch us too, because we're also fun and entertaining. Like, come on. But yeah, we're here on the desk. Me, Jeannie, your host for today. We got Veteran, we got Daption. But before we head right into this, we actually have a CLG video that we feel like we have to share with everybody.
Hello, CLG faithful. Forgive me, for I had lost faith. I predicted 300 to 2-0 CLG last week. I succumbed to the 300 hype when I should have followed the shot calls of blessed Low Pally. I thought maybe Aaron was just styling on weaker opponents by playing late game scaling champs. You can't go late every game, right? I should have known that they would have dealt with their opponents like Myra deals with her Twitter trolls, without mercy. Forgive me, CLG Faith.
You are forgiven.
Dear CLG Faith, forgive me, for I have made a mistake. Although I might have predicted that CLG Faith was going to clap 300 2-0, the intentions were wrong. I only did it for a mere meme. Just to be a little different than the others, for the content, for the entertainment, rather than my pure belief in the fact that CLG Faith could do it. My faith was not very faithful, and therefore, I am sorry. I should have known better, and I should have had much better intentions. But I wholeheartedly believe that you guys can win in the future, so you got that going for you.
Believe harder next time. Have more faith.
Have more faith. Believe harder. That's exactly the words that we need to hear today. We actually even have a secret clip that did not make it. I'm gonna show it to you guys right now. It's a bag.
When I first saw CLG Faith play, I didn't get how they could have such a following. All I saw was another struggling amateur team, fool that I was. But then, like any good religion, a savior arrived in the form of Low Pally, and I repented and believed. Please accept me into the faith. Please forgive my sins.
Well, I hope that they forgive your sins, and I hope that everybody today believed harder looking at the caster predictions that we have coming in. It seems like the majority this time around are going for CLG Faith, so that means that our prayers have been answered and everyone has repented, so thank you so much to everyone for doing that. But I'm gonna have to ask you the question here, Daption, and that is in regards to your expectations. what do you think? How do you think this match specifically is going to be playing out, considering that, CLG Faith, they did put on quite an incredible performance last week, but, they're against TBA this time, and it's, again, they're in the crocodile pond. They have to fight for that final chance to go to playoffs.
I think personally, I put my faith in CLG Faith because they
As you
ended up
should.
winning. As I should, because they ended up winning versus 300, and that was just such an unexpected turn of events for me. And so something sparked in my head, and I was like, okay, 2-1 for CLG. That's got to be the matchup for today. And seeing as 3 out of 5 of the members of Team Pending are the collegiate winners, it's still possible that they're able to take a game, and that's why I gave them the 2-1 instead of a 2-0. So that's how I feel.
Okay, well, you have some faith in CLG, but maybe not as strong as I expected it to be. That's not a clean 2-0 coming through. A little disappointing, to be completely honest, but Veteran, what are your expectations here?
Okay, all right. Every single time that I simp for someone, they end up losing. But
It's the curse.
Aaron was absolutely smurfing last time, but also you ended up with low pally in the bot lane, and we've been told he's like 90% of their comms. CLG have actually adapted to their map play in a way that I actually believe plays directly against what TBA would prefer to do. TBA got most of their advantages in all the games that they've played through a lot of really nice river fights that they're able to get around neutral objectives, be it Herald, be it Drake. But with low pally, CLG now understand how to get those groupings for those fights themselves. They're able to get significant advantages on the map in that way, and that's going to take the fight directly to an area where TBA are normally comfortable. I think they'll throw them off kilter, TBA won't really know how to respond, and they'll be able to take the series with it.
Yeah, I'm going to be going for 2-0 for CLG as well. I said it last time around. I did it as a meme. This time, however, I do actually believe it's not a meme. I genuinely think that CLG are going to be able to take away this win. They have adapted so incredibly well last series specifically. Yes, it went all the way to 3 games last time around, but we saw that adaptation coming through, whether it was in the draft, whether it was, as you mentioned it yourself, or in the way that they played it in the middle of the game, the way that they adapted, the communication coming through, just the fact that they're actually grouping up when they have to group up for those objectives. A lot of those games went into the late game, but they were able to get 4 Drakes. They get the Soul, they then get the Baron, they even got a couple of Elders. Maybe too many Elders, if we're being completely honest.
Oh,
but
the free Elder game.
But they still got the Elders, they still got the objective. So looking forward to see how they're going to be playing out this game. And once again, we got Grapes and Rebel Fox as the casters that are going to be walking you through it. So casters, take it away, do your cast, do your thing. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Janiro. Back to the caster desk. We are Graves and Rebel Fox here to get you into the second series of the day on the Academy stream. I'm surprised with all the CLG love we got both in the caster predictions and on the desk here, Dean, because A, TBA beat CLG 2-1 last time they ended up facing off, and B, this is 3/5 of the University of St. Thomas roster that just won CLOL yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, they won the matchup last time. You had a player moving on from CLG where it was a step out onto C9 Academy for having that. But people believe in CLG. It's not logic. It's not study. It's just some good old fashioned CLG faith. That's all that the folks need, right?
I think we might have been. I feel like the whole broadcast has kind of been indoctrinated into the church at this point. The faith is just kind of overflowing all over here. We got, I think, everybody except for 3 people predicting for CLG, the whole desk predicting CLG, and that's kind of where we're looking at right now. Yeah.
It was even incredible because when I made that prediction last week, I told Echo, I think it messaged me about it, and he was talking to me about it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure CLG's got the upper hand in the matchup. And then everyone predicted against it, and I'm like, what is happening here?
That's the thing. You're kind of the prophet here in this scenario, Rebel, because you were the one who picked them in the last week's series against 300. So I mean, when people ask for advice, they listen to you in terms of CLG prediction.
Evidently, that's the case. And I have them slated here today. I like what the team has been able to do. The big thing that I noticed when I was trying to cover some of the games and I was trying to figure out what these 2 teams were about, I know these 3 players because I gassed them. I've talked about UST plenty. I know 3 of them. And the thing I know more than anything is that Kitsuo is a maniac, right? He controls comms. He does everything. He wants to make things happen, right? And Kitsuo will make sure that things go his way by ensuing jungle fights, right? I know that our desk talked about that, just like constant fighting. That's a large Kitsuo diff because he's constantly calling for those things. But I think with low poly, like I said, better setup around neutral objectives, allowing for late game scaling has let CLG really play around some of their later scaling. Play around Town, play around Draco, play around Aaron, and I know you are with a lot of these players, and so like you can speak to their ability to play in these late game situations better. And so I think I like CLG's adaptation here.
Yeah, I think that the way that this is going to kind of end up here is that TBA is going to have a lot of the early aggression, especially in that mid jungle. Kitsuo, Robbie Bob were raining havoc across collegiate teams all over the place last weekend,
100%.
whether it was with the Iron Rengar or with any other pickups that they were able to have. But if we do get to the late game stages of this game, that's when the scaling from CLG can start to come out. If Baco is on a champion that can provide significant engage and initiation, it can allow for the rest of the members to really take over and win some of these late game fights.
It's very interesting because it's such team coordinated play coming out of CLG that I'm expecting up against, again, performances out of individuals. I'm so excited to see what, like, Topo, I've heard very good things about Masu, and I've seen him play. He seems to be really good as a pairing alongside Chookies, who, in my opinion, played amazing this last weekend. Like, this last weekend at, like, tournament might have actually been one of the MVPs of the entire tournament was Chookies playing out of his mind. And so if he continues that, you have to be a little afraid. Again, Low Poly's still new to the roster. He's a lot of the coaching. I know when coaches step onto rosters, one of the things that I always get talked to about is just like how much they know the game, how much they're able to talk about things, but so often their hands are cold, right? Like you just like don't have the hands that you used to. The big one that comes to mind is Akash, who again, also in this last tournament,
Right.
he used to literally throw his body away so he could RTS his team. Like is ridiculous. Low Poly not to that level, but again, I think that's a large part of why their objective setup is looking so much better. And hopefully they kind of pick up on that. They can slow down the early pacing of the game for TBA, prevent Kitsuo from getting anywhere near a situation where you can kind of take things over. It allows them to play a more methodical game and more played out game that I think Low Poly would be better at calling.
Yeah, Low Poly, of course, a streamer as well, so at least keeping his hands warm in terms of solo queue. Now, with another week of scrims in a competitive environment,
Oh, yes.
could see a little bit more interesting things out of him. As we head into the first phase of the bans, we're seeing some very similar stuff from that last series that we had between these two squads, Rebel. We have the Fiora and the Gwen taken away from Draco on the red side, and of course, gotta ban that Rengar away from Kitsuo.
Yeah, I gotta make sure that that's gone. So there's nothing crazy from Kitsuo. There's still plenty of early game aggressive stuff. The strategy also from TBA is so interesting. I know Topo last week was able to kind of salvage because Draco on any of these major carries is just so good. Walking into this split, I remember having some question marks, but as this team, like, they fell to 0-2 very quickly, then climbed back in, and then they lost again, and they were on the brink of defeat against 300, and then they've climbed back to this spot where, again, they're on the brink of defeat. We'll see if they can get through. But Draco has constantly impressed me, like, more than I thought he was going to. And so I'm very, very happy about the progression of this guy. Clearly, TBA agrees with me because they are just banning the hell out of this guy right now.
Yeah, I believe that is now the 10th time out of all of the games that CLG Faith have played that Draco has had Fiora and Camille banned against him. He's got one of them in each of the games that were not banned against him. And so that's kind of 100% presence in CLG Faith games on those two champions. So let's see what we can see what other pickups Draco has. The Aatrox looked pretty good in the one game that they had against 300, but it's going to be a Talia priority for the Faith to start things off.
Immediately to the Senna Tomcat. It's an incredibly powerful combination. We'll see if CLG has a response to this because there's a couple of different ways that you can go about it. I'm curious also whether Baco decides to take this. I know it tends to be more of a mid lane pick, and I do want to talk about Town because I think in their last meeting, while CLG did fall, Town was crazy. Robbie Bob's a great mid laner, and Town was having a hell of a performance in that game. And so now with Talia, I mean, not only your laning, but also the ability to roam out, move, get elsewhere, and try to help impact the map. Maybe it can help salvage some of the aggression that Kitsuo puts onto a game like this.
I love this to pick up here if it ends up getting locked in here by CLG Faith. Aphelios Lulu for Aaron and Low Poly could be big. We saw them play this against the Senna Cho'Gath on 300 last week, and it worked to such great success. They funneled so much gold into Aaron, turned into a late game monster at the 20-minute mark effectively at 3 items at that point, and so that's going to be the bot lane focus here for CLG Faith. With all the main top laners gone, it's going to be the bot lane, the focus for the Faith.
I think Victor makes too much sense. Like it's just so good. It's one of Robbie Bob's better champions, and it's insanely strong on the patch. And also he ran kids with it this weekend, so I'm not shocked at all to see Robbie Bob on one of his typical picks here. So that's what's interesting. We're still waiting on the top lane matchup. I think, a grand scheme of things, we might be waiting to see where the Talia pick goes. If that's the case, TBA is going to hold it for Kitsuo, and I think maybe that makes more sense. I think it's more likely. If you don't, you save your blind for Topo, but Topo wasn't really playing for lane last week, or at least as far as I remember, that wasn't the case. And so I don't think you'd actually do that. I think it's going to end up being a blind top, and they're going to wait for the Kitsuo pick. So here, it's again just banning out more champions from Draco, getting the Vladimir out as fast as possible.
It's a bit of double duty. Tom plays the Vladimir as well, but again, focus towards Draco is the name of the game so far if you're for TBA. We saw it so much in the last time that these two teams faced off, and it worked. The strategy worked. You know, Draco wasn't able to punish Topo in a way that many people might have been able to suggest or kind of expect in the matchup that ends up getting unfolded here. But with the Aatrox takeaway, it's again 5 top lane bans thrown at CLG.
Absolutely insane to think about that many champions off the board. I wonder if Ornn gets removed. I feel like Topopotamus could play an Ornn here with decent ability, right? So like you do. The one problem with that is like if you end up with Talia in mid lane, it feels like maybe you don't have 3 of the best lanes to work with in terms of like your jungle. So if Kitsuo wants to get aggressive, he's not going to have the most support in the entire world if you do end up going for the Ornn, because unless you pick it into a mini matchup. But again, Draco gets his choice here. So that's my one complaint of it. And I wonder if Topo decides to go for something that does have more priority, so you can play to topside, or if it does just end up being the Ornn.
Ornn does make a lot of sense. Again, Topo, a very, very good tank player, able to soak up so much pressure against the likes of Draco. And that is going to be the lock-in here for TBA. So they're leaving the last pick up to Kitsuo, making sure that the Maniac in the jungle for TBA is able to get his hands on an advantageous matchup. It'll be the Gangplank response here by CLG, and that is a Kassadin for town.
Yes, that's what I like to see. I always hate it when Kassadin falls out of meta or falls out of favor, and anybody who brings it back is one of my favorite. Did they actually just bait it?
Wait,
oh no, it's Kitsuo jungle. It's Zed jungle.
It's Zed jungle. I think it's Zed jungle.
Okay,
I don't think you can play Victor jungle.
No, I was about to be like, are they doing like orange jungle with Victor top or something? No. It's just it went out of my brain for a second that like this happens. If I recall, Kitsu has actually done this before, and he had this really cool game where basically he would just show up in lanes, hit people with shurikens, not get kills, and then just run away. And part of that is first strike for gold, but part of it's also that ruins your lane. You lose half your health bar when Kitsu just shows up. It doesn't even matter what else happens. You just like it's just constant harassment from the jungler. Normally Kitsuo likes to full on engage. He can do that with the ultimate as well. But it's interesting because there's so many champions here. You can do it to Gangplank, you can try to do it to Talia, you can try to do it to Kassadin, you can try to remove. There's so many squishy champions here on CLG. They don't have a frontliner, they don't have somebody that soaks damage super well. And it feels like Kitsuo, if he gets fed, could actually rip through CLG's roster.
And I feel like we're really, with the Zed pickup at least, we're really looking at the kind of early versus late game playstyle that we were talking about, especially heading into the draft. TBA and Kitsuo, again, really the focus in the early game right now, because if they can't get ahead, can't get that lead to continue to scale, well, then you have Gangplank, then you have Kassadin, then you have Aphelios, these champions that can really take over if they're left untouched in the early game. And so we'll see how that ends up happening. Will CLG get their revenge, or will it be once again TBA making their way up to the top 8 with the victory? It is CLG Faith. This is a little happy face. It's like the professional esports organization against colon parenthesis. That's what amateur's all about. I love it.
I love it. Yeah, there's nothing better than the amateur logo system. Truly, it's the greatest version of all this. Look at that. He's playing for his little buddy right there.
It's the frog. Aw, that's so cute. Tune.
See, it's touching family reunions like this that really make AM so wholesome. Truly.
Yeah, it's all about family here in the Proving Ground Circuit qualifier. That's all we're here to do. And Chucky's had a pretty good performance with his collegiate family as well. And the likes of University of St. Thomas, which is what we keep kind of harking back to. This is the last matchup here in this sort of top 8 finalizers here, as Area of Effect Ginger Turmeric just took down third party in a 2-0 fashion. So the last spot in the quarterfinals belongs to one of these two teams.
Absolutely. We are going to, by the end of this 3-game series, well, potential 3-game series, we're going to know who the quarterfinalists are. We're going to know who's going to be able to go on in the tournament or have the potential to go on in the tournament. And we're going to get a first look at some of the teams that actually have a very, very legitimate chance of making it not just into top 10, but into top 6, guaranteed to go to proving grounds, of course. And some of those names are expected in names like this. I mean, I don't know that a lot really expect DBA necessarily to be here, but their name is among that roster. I think CLG also really wanted to be among those names, and truly has come from so much to be able to do so. Right? Again, to talk about the adversity that they've gone through after that first day of games is really astonishing. But they continue to get better day by day. Week by week, they just get improve. And so watching them here being able to overcome TBA would just be like one other crowning achievement to throw onto all of those outcomes that could have gone poorly.
And that's kind of the philosophy that CLG Faith has kind of undergone in terms of their expectations throughout the entire season, just in terms of just continuing to, scale throughout the summer split. Of course, this team is supposed to have Rosethorn on it, Bako being that sub for the moment, as well as Trevor currently subbing in for C9 Academy. And so once all these younger players start to build up and once some of the replacements end up coming down, this team can really be scary, but they're already being scary right now.
Yeah, they are. Look at this. Immediately in the game, you love being able to put on the pressure. I wonder if Robbie Bob feels it from the last time. Again, Town is an incredible mid laner, had some really great performances, and now Robbie Bob gets one of his kind of namesake champions, or a champion that he's been incredible with for a very long time. Into Town in a melee matchup just to begin the game. Really, really bold call by Town, wanting to try to take the skill matchup up against Robbie Bob here, because things could go poorly. Things could go very, very poorly for the Kassadin in the wrong sense, especially if Kitsuo gets involved. That's where the real threat starts to come in. And what I'm watching for Team Pending now is, again, you want Kitsuo to be active very early. You want him to be able to fight very early, and it's about how these lanes can set him up to actually do so effectively, because I feel as though, again, Victor doesn't have the greatest of setup, like the Senatom Kench isn't really meant for it. Orin's got a lot of CC, but into the Gangplank usually isn't going to have the greatest of setup in the world. So Kitsuo feels like he's got to really, really heavily communicate. He is the in-game leader for this squad. He's the in-game leader for most teams that he's on, because he loves to make those calls, take the pressure off of his team so they can just play the game. And here he goes on his first bout to Bama.
He's going to get spotted on a ward, but it might be a little bit too late. We're probably going to get locked up here by the root, and now that's Kitsuo going straight in with the dash flash, picking up first blood for TBA.
Wow, what a commitment from everybody right there to be able to get on top of CLG's support. Low poly, again, having to flash early, but having the W, being able to get rooted up there. Masu being able to tag that one, setting up for Chookies to get the slow, get the ignite as well, and for Kitsuo to clean up the kill. Again, making sure that they can get this Zed on an early advantage is going to be so big for this game. If you can get Kitsuo onto a very quick item, a lethality item, he's going to be able to be a bully on this map.
It's a very good start here for Team Pending, for Kitsuo, for TBA as a whole. Look at the itemization at this point. It's a Dark Seal for Bako versus a Dirk 2 longswords for Kitsuo. And we were talking about how, he could just run in, throw a couple shurikens out, and chunk you down pretty low. I mean, you're gonna get pretty low at this point if you run into Kitsuo in the jungle.
Ooh. Good supports both kind of pop into mid lane there for a second. TP coming in from Robbie Bob. It might actually keep Town stuck here for a minute. It looks like Kitsuo could come in as well, just to make sure that he has to take a very defensive back and really let this wave get controlled by Robbie. We can make sure that this is going to stay on his side. It's going to make it much more difficult for Town to really do anything now that the wave is kind of messed up for him. What a nice combination of plays. Again, the communication from Team Pending already has been great. Playing around the Zed pick, playing around Robbie. That's usually the early game advantage, or the early game strategy they're going to go for. Leaning into it quite heavily, and not something super tangible, just the one kill so far. But again, being able to play around these small advantages to set up potentially Kitsuo in the future is going to be enormous.
All lane for CLG. Gonna get the early push here, even despite that one kill going down onto low pally. Another main carry here for CLG, Aaron on this Aphelios. We saw CLG do a really good job of funneling him gold the last time he was on this pick, which actually is not really played a whole lot at this point with all the nerfs and the durability patch coming out as well, but kind of shows the comfort Aaron has on this champion. Played it a ton in the Midwest Esports Conference, and it looked very good on it even at this point in the season.
It's also really crazy because, again, most of the time, especially with like a Gangplank, a Talia, you don't have a bunch of engage. And the nice thing about Aphelios is when you've got Gravitum, you do have that. The Moonlight Vigil from Gravitum is actually a decent tool for being able to utilize that. Not to mention, again, when you're challenging the backline, that Moonlight Vigil is one of your best tools. And if they're not very, very careful, there's so much zone control that can come out of the team from both the Aphelios and the rest of the members with the Gangplank, the Cassid, and all these types of things, the Talia as well. Which I think is the late game strategy. Because again, I'm really mortified to think about what would happen if one of these carries gets super fed for team pending because of no ability to soak damage in the later stages. It feels like that range advantage Aphelios has might have to be something that they play to very, very carefully. Again, communication from TBA, maybe something to exploit if CLG Faith can take them to the late game.
Right now, Team Pending doing a good job at funneling and snowballing their lead a little bit, up about 1,500 gold, despite with only that one kill. They're going to get this first Ocean Drake as well. CS advantages effectively across the board, excluding the top side of the map. They're looking pretty good for Team Pending right now. They have the early advantages that they're trying to create.
And they don't have bad late game characters either. It's just that there's an absurd amount of them on CLG Faith right now. This is where, again, I really want to see Kitsuo. This is like his time to shine. I'm excited to see what it's capable of. We'll see if CLG Faith can stand up against it. Because again, if Kitsuo starts to really get fed, this game falls to pieces quickly. That's why you see, once again, Robbie Bob on perma push, making sure Cassidy's stuck under the tower. Now with the ultimate, we'll have to save that. We'll see if Kitsuo goes for a dive or just leaves, because it looks like he's heading back towards bottom lane.
They go cancel the recall, so we'll be here if the Blast Cone ends up being utilized. Kitsuo
He's not paying attention.
Baeko here. He's not looking. He's looking straight at Aaron and going to be having to use that shadow to get away.
They just pass
really
each other like ships in the night, right there. they like walk past, like he just walked right past him. That's pretty crazy.
It's like how like deer can't see you if you're not moving. That's kind of what it looked like at that point. It's all right. It's all fine. It's all fine.
It's just, Baeko got caught shopping, and I guess the same could be said of Kitsuo. His screen was pointed in the bot lane, not looking at the person in the bush right in front of him. At least he fled immediately. Like there was no like weird like interaction there. He steals blue. Baeko, I don't think he can do anything here. Like Kitsuo can kind of take what he wants.
It's a big farm advantage actually built up by Kitsuo, as well as the one kill going over as well. So it seems like right now Kitsuo getting the better hand of Baeko, both in terms of the clear and also in terms of just making plays across the rift. Being very good here for this team sending junglers. Maybe trying to take a look at Draco as well.
Might actually have it. Have a little bit of damage. Kitsuo is a little far out though. Yeah, there it is. There's the shuriken drop. So you jump in, you burn a couple potion stacks, and then boom, you're just out of there immediately. Kitsuo just gets to cash in on some free first strike damage. And then, of course, the push also allows for Ornn to step into the river. The back from Robbie Bob is a little off-timed for this, because it looks like there's actually reinforcements. There's 3 members ready for top side. As bottom side, there's aggression.
Probably chunked really, really low. They're barely missing out on by Masu, so maybe punishing the CLG Faith bot lane just a little bit. Masu and Choki is having a really good laning phase against the CLG Faith lane that worked really well last week against 300.
They were punishing because they show in the river on top side, right? Like the Scuttle Crab had been taken, and so they knew they had the vision. And so Masu and Chokis can just step up into these two right now. They're doing a good job of using this range, using this poke to just drop the health off of these two, tick by tick by tick, making it difficult to stand here. Yeah, Aaron just taking poke by poke. He's down to 200. Goodness gracious, they're gonna get a second plate almost as well. If you can get an auto Q auto, so you're from Masu. There it is.
He's gonna go for the back. Yeah, they're finally getting the plate. And they're going to get another wave in under the tower as well. Aaron and Lopali forced to go for the reset very early on in this laning phase. They are not having the strongest performance so far in this early game. And now mid, gotta watch out because Kitsuo is again around the Raptor pit.
Absolutely. And I was hoping maybe there would be an opportunity for a shift here where maybe Draco could connect into bottom side. They could put their top or bot top, and then they could go for a Rift Herald. But it looks like Baeko came to the bottom side just to cover this wave to make sure there was no additional push from Masu and Chookies. It's pretty slow. Senna's not the fastest taker. It's the same as Jin. Like they're not the fastest of fast turret takers to kick the game off. So maybe you could have done that. I feel like it might have been an option here, but instead CLG Faith, again, they're just trying to slow play the game as much as possible. They'll just give some farm over to Baeko. They're not willing to make this super aggressive move. They don't want to give anything to Team Pending. You give gold to Team Pending, that's bad. As you just scale up as much as you can, again, eventually your Cassidy gets to like 2 items, 3 items, your Gangplank gets to 2 items, 3 items, and all of a sudden Team Pending is going to be feeling the pain at least a little bit. I think that's their idea of what's going to happen in a game like this. So they don't make those aggressive moves. They're just gonna do what they need to make sure that nothing gets given over to Team Pending more than anything else.
Yeah, but it seems like Team Pending, making the most of the stable game state at the moment here, Rebel. It's 2,000 gold in their favor. Again, only 1 kill has been had in this game, in this series so far, and it looks like CLG are going to try to make one of their own. Robbie Bob caught here, does have the flash and is going to get away from the seismic shove. Donning Shadow over the top as well to keep him alive. Now Kitsuo here. 4 members of CLG Faith into the mid lane. It doesn't look like he wants to go in onto that.
Very nicely played. And again, dropping low poly to half health. But now there's no bot lane. Like, they shifted up into top side. It feels like they could maybe cut them off from this. At minimum, they're going to get the wave in and deny a little bit to Aaron because he can't walk directly to this. He's going to have to walk around. They probably get another plate, too.
Yeah.
So the attempted gank in mid lane, they do get Robbie Bob's summoner spells, but like that's all they get. The completed Eclipse, the completed Leandries, like items are starting to come through from Team Pending. It feels like they're kind of running things. They'll get second dragon almost certainly with the push that they've got right now. They're shoving the wave alongside getting these tower plates dropped. So it should open up the dragon freely for Robbie Bob and Kitsuo to take. They're leaning around it right now.
Oh, big damage though coming out with the Moonlight Vigil. Aaron chunking down Masu to about 200 HP. No potential for a kill. And it looks like Masu will end up surviving. Kitsuo has all the pressure in the world on the bottom side of the map. Going to pick up his second dragon of the game.
Yep. Chucky's being as high health as they are. Fleet footwork, heal, and Q coming from Masu means that they've got a ridiculous amount of sustain. And so Aaron and low poly just can't step up to the tower right now. And nobody's here for defense. Mega's on top side taking the Rift Herald, which is good. Because you did get some plates, you do get the possibility, but you are really, really removing Aaron and low poly's ability to step up to this tower by being on the top side right now. Not a critique necessarily of Bako, but again, the team's got to communicate this because they're dropping plates on bottom side faster than I think the Rift Herald's going to be able to respond.
Yeah, really, really tough look here for the CLG Faith bot lane. Aaron and Lopali were such a big factor in their team's victory last week, and in terms of them trying to get a game back against the likes of Team Pending last time around. Again, apologies for the slight delay that we have in the game right now, but I mean for CLG, they're getting punished kind of down in the bot side of the map. Masu and Chucky is really looking good.
They've been great. Again, I think Chucky's is fine, but like it's really the range advantage that they're taking advantage of right now. Not to mention, again, Kitsuo having so much pressure on the map can't be easy for Bako, right? Like he has to be very cautious with the positioning he takes on the map and where he is at any given time. Like you can't go for the Rift Herald before the dragon gets taken because you don't know whether Kitsuo is going to come up to the dragon or not, and maybe that's what prompted the bottom lane having to take a step back. Aaron and low poly losing those bottom lane plates in exchange for that Rift Herald so they could try to put gold somewhere. That's the difficulty. Heck, they might just siege down this tower. No assistance from anybody. These two just take the full tower. Incredible stuff.
That's really impressive coming out from TV. I feel like when we talked about University of St. Thomas and the differences between them and Team Pending, a big difference was down in the bot lane. Obviously, Shogo not on this team. Instead, it is Masu. But Masu really stepping up for this team and performing really, really well.
Absolutely. And this game is any indication of what we are to expect from Masu. It's been really astonishing, just the ability to jump on the Senna, to be able to give up some of the farmer Chookies, but to have this kind of pressure against Aaron and low poly, given how much we know about Aaron, how good Aaron is, how good low poly is in combination with it. It's really astonishing how much they've been able to accomplish. Again, getting a whole tower on your own is not the easiest feat as Senna Tom Kench, but they made it look super easy in a game like this.
Yeah, I feel like seeing a Senatom Kench take a tower before plates fall by themselves without any Rift Herald, without anything else is not something you very typically see in a game of League of Legends, and that's kind of showing the domination that Team Pending has had down in the bot lane. Now Town dashing forward here, Rift the Rift Rock, but it has to dash away immediately as the Chaos Storm comes down. Kitsuo with the Death Mark in onto low pally will not be able to secure a kill, but TVA again weathering the storm of CLG's aggression.
Yeah, it's CLG jumping back in, trying to find something against Victor. It's Robbie Bob once again living through that situation, burning a bunch of the resources off of CLG Faith. Well, again, they're really relying on their scaling in a game like this. As long as they're not giving up resources, the problem was that bottom lane. Obviously, that led to something, but if they can continue to just prevent the hull breaches from leaking anything else. They have a powerful composition. They have powerful champions to work with. And I still am waiting for Kitsuo to really get aggressive. He got that one kill at the beginning of the game. I kind of want to see some more like wild Kitsuo plays. I always hype this up. I always talk about his level 2, level 3, level 4 ganking strategy on Jarvan, but like we're not getting it as much. He's more focused on making sure to get gold so he can be powerful in a game like this. Maybe he's waiting for like a second item spike before he really starts to put on the pressure.
Yeah, having only a 1-kill game in a game where Kitsuo and Robbie Bob are in the game is not a very, normal thing. I remember their series just this weekend against Western, where they had literally like 10 kills at like 10 minutes, just going absolutely bonkers all over the place. But it seems like Team Pending are taking a little bit more of a cautious approach here in this game, and it seems to be working for them right now. Up a big gold at this point.
They also have to be careful because, again, you don't want to give gold to like a Cassidon, right? Like, you don't want to give gold to a lot of the characters on this team from CLG Faith. So both teams are just trying to mitigate what you're giving over to the opposition as much as possible. The difference is TVA's composition is better at extracting some resources at the beginning of the game when you've got Zed and you've got Tom Kench, characters that are a little harder to fight just in the pure beginning of the game, at least in terms of what CLG's got on their side. It's making it easier for them to make these more like kind of foot forward type plays. These things like stepping into bottom tower, being able to step into the dragon pit. They actually got another 50 seconds on another dragon. They got a huge push in bot lane here from Robbie Bob. As Town's still not comfortable going in and attempting to make like the one-on-one happen. The push in mid lane also not responded to. Did they just get this? Do they have the damage for this?
I mean, it seems like
close. Yeah,
the pressure that TVA has been able to generate, it seems like CLG Faith are just too far behind to even go for this objective. Masu going to pick up another tower effectively on his lonesome here now in the mid lane, as it is now 2 towers to 0, 2 dragons to 0 as well. CLG Faith still trying to find anything in this game. Robbie Bob chasing forward with the Black Mist on top of him, forcing the flash out of Aaron. Dragon spawning now in 15 seconds. CLG now have a really tough decision to make.
And bottom lane is pushed just a little bit. Topopotamus has literally not been involved at all this game. He's just sitting in top lane alongside Draco. They're both just farming out the game. And the thing is, this is Soul Point. This is going to be Mountain Soul Point. It makes it a lot harder for burst damage to really kind of break through, which means Town's going to lose a little bit of potency. It's going to take a little longer to really get to the point where like Cassidon can one-shot the people on this team outside of Ornn. Which again, it's harmful. This is the setup. They don't want to give it over, but I think they have to.
Yeah, getting knocked up there by Chookies. Robbie Bob flashing away from the seismic shove that Baco tried to kind of issue here. Now, Topopotamus going forward with the call to Forge God. Low Pally's in a bad spot. Dragon gets secured, and maybe they get more as well. But the first to fall is Masu, and Low Pally is still alive. Chookies can't do enough damage to take down the Lulu, and CLG find a huge response. They lose Low Pally, but they get 2 kills of their own.
I'm so lost. All game, we have nothing but like mitigating circumstances. We had the 1 kill, and then we are completely fine. And out of absolutely nowhere, Team Pending has perfect setup on Dragon, and there's like, but what if we fought mid lane? But what if Ornn went in on his own and then had support from Chookies? And that was our game plan.
Yeah.
There's no damage. Like, Masu stepped up, but that was it. That was so jarring to me after the rest of this game had happened.
It turns out that 2 tanks don't do a lot of damage. And even though they are ahead by about 3,000 gold at this point, Team Pending need the main carries to be there in order to dish out the DPS, in order to take down even the squishiest member of CLG Faith. It looked good for them at the start. Masu was kind of putting in damage. They were in a good position. A nice call to Forge God coming out from Topopotamus. But then Masu got caught out, and CLG Faith were able to kind of capitalize, getting 2 kills of their own, 1 onto Town and 1 onto Aaron, and those are exactly where you want that money to go.
Absolutely, 100%. It's good for the Aphelios, and again, the Cassidon is something you have to pay attention to, because again, Mountain Soul is going to be something that thwarts a little bit of the burst damage to begin with. And so, eventually, Town really wants to be able to kind of jump into the backline. He wants to be like the even better late-game scaling version of Zed, where Zed can remove somebody, Cassidon can just remove anybody he wants as often as he wants once he hits the level 16 mark, has some of the items, and it helps get him there a little bit better. Again, it's not the biggest worry in the world. It was just a little confusing because again, all game they were pretty good about it, and then they just split their team in half between Dragon and mid lane fight, and ended up losing mid lane fight for what seemed like no reason. But hey, this is amateur. You can't expect perfection. We're not that worried about it. They didn't give up that much gold, and they're still running things across the map. Look at that. They're getting Rift Herald. They've got most of their lanes handled. None of their towers are really in danger of going down. Mid lane has been well handled for them for a while, so Team Pending just kind of checking every box at the moment.
Yeah, they still have a lot of control over this game. And this is kind of something that we were talking about before the series, Rebel, in the fact that I think CLG generally look better when they are the ones making kind of the engages and kind of some of the decisions that they want around the map. And we're talking about, like, of course, the late game scaling being there here for Faith. But right now, it seems like they're just kind of sitting around and letting this gold bleed and letting Team Pending get these sort of advantages for themselves.
Somewhat. It's a question mark of like how much are you letting Team Pending get versus how much are you getting in return. Obviously, you want to be able to stay up and farm. Right now, like top lane's perfectly fine. Mid lane, it's not perfect. Like you're not 1-to-1, but I don't think the Kassadin is so far out of this game that it's ridiculous. And again, as long as you get to that 3-item mark, that's really the breaking point. Once you hit those like really important items, once you hit those couple items that give you the damage to get you over the top, to just full assassinate Masu, to full assassinate Robbie Bob, to even maybe full assassinate Kitsuo in the right circumstance, as Kassadin, as Baeko, as Aaron. That's what really matters. So again, they're willing to give a 4, 5, 6, 7,000 gold advantage as long as they get their items that they need to actually play out fights the way they would want. It seems like they're giving a lot away, which is completely fair. Like, it's not good to be doing this, but at minimum, they are slowing. Like, Team Pending isn't like, they're not making this an exponential growth. They're not like crushing. They haven't turned this into a 10,000 gold lead. The real fear is now, when Baron starts to be a threat, when Rift Herald or when Dragon Soul starts to be a threat, then you're forced to fight, and then Team Pending gets to draw you into a situation that you don't want to be in.
Yeah, and right on key Rebel, here they go. TBA starting up the Baron at 21 minutes. Aaron and the rest of CLG in a pretty bad spot, but Masu gets locked up by a seismic shove. Call of Force God goes wide, but here comes Robbie Bob and here comes Kitsuo. Aaron is bursted down immediately, forcing the flash out of Low Pally as well. But now Town and Draco on the backside of the fight, trying to make something happen. There comes Town picking up Kitsuo, and he's able to rift walk back away. Baeko dishing out damage with the rocks, and now CLG can try to work for this push. It is just the 1-for-1 around the Baron.
A lot more health dealt right there by Team Pending, but it is just the 1-for-1. Kitsuo gets brought out of the fight. Got exhausted on the way in. Did get the kill. I don't think with the ultimate. Didn't actually pick up the kill himself. But what did happen is that he wasted a lot of his spells, wasted a lot of his mobility, and it meant that he could get punished by, again, all this late damage is starting. It's trickling in slowly but surely as Town picks up a second kill in this game. Again, it's peanuts right now, right? Like, it's not that much, but as long as they stay relevant, as long as they stay within striking distance, they still have a chance in a game like this. That's perfectly acceptable as long as you're not giving away game-breaking things. Number two, they actually they prevent the Baron take. They didn't get baited into a fight that was completely ridiculous, and now actually they're first on map, maybe to move into Dragon Pit and slow down the Dragon Psychic so they don't have to play through Mountain Soul, which is nice.
Yeah, they definitely don't want to give up the soul this early on into the game. Of course, they're going to have enough damage to eventually burst through it, but maybe, of course, giving up soul is never a good thing if you are any team in League of Legends. And the Dragon has spawned now, but TBA on the outside looking in. Low Pally trying to slow down the rest of TBA, but the Rift Herald has been spawned in the mid lane, so CLG has to move quickly if they don't want to lose a big portion of their base. Watch Kitsuo does have the smite. He's going to try to jump over, but it is secured by Aaron. Now Town on the backside are in a bit of a bad position, trying to rift walk away, but Kitsuo's going to dash forward, almost taking down the Kassadin, and it's going to burn down with the red buff. Kitsuo gets the kill in response to the soul getting denied.
And just like that, this is it's not even necessarily like a huge misplay from CLG Faith, but again, dropping the Rift Herald was a great call from Team Pending. It's like you said, if they don't respond to it, they lose a large chunk of their base, and they couldn't because they needed to make sure not to give up soul, or at least they prioritized not giving up soul. So they lose Inhibitor at 24 minutes into the game. A little early, right? Like, it's early enough where like these minions are going to be valuable heading into the base, but it means Team Pending can really start to do damage around the map.
Baeko might have walked a little bit too far. The gravity field going to stun him up. No oranges means no life for the Gangplank as Kitsuo picks up yet another kill. And now Team Pending with that numbers advantage. Town respawning in about 2 seconds, but it's still 5 strong for TBA. Masu going to get locked up here. Big Inferno multi coming out from Aaron, but the Devour from Chookies keeps him alive.
Very, very well played, Chookies, saving Masu for a minute. Like you said, I think you were about to be hinting that maybe the Baron was going to be on the table here for Team Pending.
Robbie Bob barely missing out on the stun, and now Topo looking to try and frontline here. It's Baeko forcing the stopwatch out, and now Town in a bit of a bad spot. Has to rift walk away. Topo buying so much time, soaking up so much damage, but Aaron does a lot as well. Now the seismic shove finds 2. Here comes Town trying to dash forward, pick up a kill, but TBA is just too tanky. Aaron the lone casualty, and now the red team is again looking to chase down CLG.
Don't have the damage yet to be able to work through somebody like Topopotamus, like Chookies in those two places. Those two can stand resolute at one side of a fight and let the rest of the members of Team Pending kind of focus where they need to, focus on not dying, and it opens up so much for the rest of this squad. Again, CLG Fate, there comes a time where the damage starts to break through those tanks and there is nothing that they can do about it. They can just jump in. Heck, there's a point where Town probably has enough damage to be able to jump in past the tanks and just assassinate somebody, but we're not anywhere near that point, anytime soon. Team Pending is still working towards doing, I think, what I would consider to be like a death blow, a place where like you really can't come back from if Team Pending doesn't really make a mistake. We're approaching that area. Again, Baron buff seems like they're baiting it over and over again. Mountain Soul is a looming threat for a while. Low Poly.
He's out Warden on his own, and that could mean a bit of danger. Nice usage of the exhaust, plus the wild growth to keep him alive. But Kitsuo pushing out the CLG support. And now TBA could look for the Baron. Big pressure around this top side here for Team Pending, but CLG Faith, they can have the response. Teleport available for Draco and for Town, but the Baron is just continuing to tick.
Got damage. It's not the fastest of fast Barons, right? There's a chance to fight, but again, I think Team Pending has been trying to bait them to fight more than anything recently.
Weaver's Wall gonna block off one, but now TBA actually onto the blue side quadrant of the map. They're gonna just try to break open more and more of these turrets here, Rebel.
Yeah, I actually really like that, because they left residual vision, I believe Team Pending did, on this top side to set up for the push. The wave was actually really well managed, because it crashed right as they were pulling off of the Baron, and they could walk to it. They knew that no one on TBA was over there, because they had to walk through the safe path on the right, where they had the warning, and it meant that they just had a free path to the top tower.
Papo getting blocked down a little bit here. Town actually very low. Robbie Bob doing a big chunk of damage. Donnie Shadow takes down the Kassadin, and that is one kill picked up again for Team Pending. Now, CLG Faith in a 4v5, looking to try and turn this around, try to prevent their base from falling. Aaron's going to get knocked up by the Abyssal Dive. Chucky is frontlining so well for this team, and CLG Faith have no angle into the fight.
Really, really astonishing to watch how this has been played out from the side of Team Pending.
Oh, Aaron has the ulti. Does not a lot of damage though, and that's just DBA getting out. Second inhibitor in the top side being destroyed.
So painful. They are going to have to get out of this situation, and a lot of them are pretty low. Wow, Bako has to burn the Zonias just to make sure not to die to Kitsuo's combo.
I don't know if Lopelli is allowed to be walking up that far.
Everybody's low right now. It's insane. Oh my goodness. CLG has to be kind of careful because they can keep poking in for Baron contests, but like Town's just now coming back. This is what I was afraid of. They get the full re-engage right now, but not going to be the case. Instead, they actually want to beeline to Dragon. I think that makes a lot more sense. I mean,
stop the backs again.
No,
Probably just playing bait now, but now they're going to run into Bako as well. The seismic shove going to find it, but here comes Kitsuo in. Rooting up two is the Talia, but Town now maybe in a bit of trouble. The Death Mark comes through. Chucky's picking up the first kill, and now Town might be unlocked. Has two items, looking to try and take down TBA with the wild growth, but not enough DPS is there just yet. Kitsuo getting devoured up by Chucky's. Draco has to run for the hills, and the Chaos Storm will burn him down to a crisp. Team Pending picking up 2 kills again around the Baron pit, and they have all the pressure in the world into the base.
I think they need to drop a couple. Okay.
Oh, they're going. Town gets knocked up. Okay. Town is dead. Only Aaron and Bako are alive, and Team Pending just refuse to die. They are so tanky. They do so much damage, and now the Nexus Towers and Bako are all that stand between them and a Game 1 victory over Faith.
It's really incredible the way they'd be able to close things out so quickly. Like I said, it wasn't a bunch of really crazy advantage. It was little stuff trickling in. Anything that they could take at the beginning of the game off the back of the pressure of Kitsuo was all that was necessary to put this team at a massive advantage. Really, really incredible stuff from this team. Showing, again, perseverance more than anything else. CLG really did test them. They said, okay, if you're going to beat us, you have to beat us, right? Like, we're not going to let you win off of scaling. We're not going to let you win off of some other thing. Like, come beat us. And they did that. They actually did it pretty well, too. It was relatively clean. Were it not for that one mid lane play, I'd be astonished with just how well that they were able to play out a game like this, being able to bait properly and things. That last... If it weren't for the pick on Town, I would have said you probably leave, you probably go take Mountain Soul, then you walk back to Baron, and like, what are they supposed to do? Like, you probably just win the game off that. But the pick on Town probably ends this game. I don't think the game goes much longer. They're probably taking the Nexus Towers as we speak, if they haven't already done it.
Yeah, we again apologize for some of the delays that are happening on the stream right now. We do receive word from production that the game has ended and that Team Pending did just take the victory off of that push, which is just so crazy, by the way. Like, we never really even got a full 5v5 team fight. CLG never got to the point where they were really able to show off what they could do as a unit. It was just TBA continuing to take the lead and snowball it further and further, and that's kind of what UST did in their CLO run, and they're doing it right here with the same core that they kind of currently possess.
Yeah, the early game action is something that, like, again, a lot of it was Trevor Roy the last time that I saw this, and he's not around anymore. So like, it's you have to find other ways. I think Bako needs something a little more active to begin on the map. Like the Talia is good, but if you're picking like that much scaling, that much damage, you don't necessarily need that much damage out of your jungler. Instead, pick something that I think can get your lanes ahead. You can play for your lane specifically, and if you do so, that's I think where a starting point is to be able to fix this. Because CLG, if they have contention in some of the early game, if they have a jungler that doesn't just get shoved out by Zed every time you happen to run into him, I really do think it does make a world of difference.
Yeah, I think that TBA really just were able to play their cards right with the draft. The Senna Tom Kench for Masu and Chookies was so good for their team, and I think that the Senna has just been a big target here for Masu as well. It's been banned a couple of times against him as well, and just really showing why in that game, just being such an unmovable force down in the bot lane, and really kind of facilitating Kitsu and Robbie Bob to have other lanes to play around, and eventually getting them to that game 1 victory.
Really crazy. We'll see what kind of adaptation comes out. I know Bako's a big Udyr player, and I'm curious if that actually gets through to him to be able to play. Because again, something like that would have made such a difference in a game like this. They also didn't really have the greatest of team fights set up, which was painful. It was like there's nobody to really like pull champions together so you can put all your champions in the same place. So it was already a hard to play team fight, and then also it took time to scale, and also they had just complete agency at the beginning of the game. It was well played from Team Pending. Game 2, again, exciting stuff. Should be CLG being able to come back, being able to pick their side, being able to make the adaptations necessary. You got to slow down that combination. You got to slow down the control that he's got. Kitsu having that much agency in a game, I don't want to see anymore, because it's just so unreal how good he is at it.
Yeah, and once again, it's CLG Faith with their backs against the walls. One more loss, again, just knocks them out of the tournament. And we'll see if they're able to come back, readjust, and force into that next stage to make their way into the quarterfinals. That's going to be all for us here at the caster desk. We're going to send it over to the AD. Janira, take it away.